Hey guys, today I'm going to be telling you how I beat Thaddius on heroic mode in Hearthstone. Thaddius is the last boss of the Construct Quarter, and he's fairly difficult, but there are some really cool tips and tricks that I can give you to help you out. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the deck list that I came up with. So I used the warrior class hero here, and some of the tricks are going to involve very early game cards to try and take down Stalagg and Feugen, because actually one of the first things he does on heroic mode is he casts both of them on his first turn, which is totally unfair. And what this means is that he's going to start hitting you immediately for a ton of damage, and so you've got to try and mitigate it as fast as possible. And so with the warrior, you have things like execute here, which is destroy a damaged enemy minion. And so as you can imagine, all you need to do then in order to use execute is find some way, any way, to do damage to these guys. So one of these ways would be whirlwind. You could also take a hit up front yourself with a fiery war axe. Really nice is cleave, as well as heroic strike, again, if you're gonna take that first set of hits just to bring them down. And the Nerubian eggs work out really nice. So I also put in the unstable ghouls, as they are really cheap taunts, and so that'll help mitigate at least one of the hits if Thaddius, the enemy hero Thaddius, isn't totally cruel to you and uses some sort of lightning strike, which he frequently does, so watch out for that. So I put in all of these in hopes that some combination I'll be able to draw early game in order to be able to bring him down. So beyond the early game, what are the other cards that I have in this heroic Thaddius deck? So I have the shield blocks, which are really nice, because one of the things that you're going to find is after Thaddius wails on you really hard with Feugen and Stalagg, you're going to need to find a way to get back up your health, and the way to do that for warriors is through armor. The Wolf Riders I have in as a nice, still cheap early game charge to be able to help bring down any other minions that he has cast in the meantime while you were trying to bring down Stalagg and Feugen. And so the elites here that charge for warrior are really nice. And then one of the things that you're going to find is, again, as you're trying to mitigate damage to bring down the other minions that he's accrued in the meantime, taunts are really nice. So I have both the shield masters in here. The brawls, just in case he throws a whole army out and you don't have another way of dealing with it, and when you get to turn 5. And so this is actually the really interesting thing, when you actually have Feugen and Stalagg. One of the things I did not know when I was fighting him on heroic mode was that when I throw out my own Feugen and Stalagg, after having brought down his Feugen and Stalagg, I actually immediately get Thaddius's from each one of these. So another taunt that I have here is a Sludge Belcher, and these guys are really nice because when they die they throw up another little mini taunt guy, and the significance there is that it's just another tiny little way that hopefully you'll be able to mitigate one of the other minions' damage while you're trying to play catch-up. Lastly, I have Lord of the Arena, and for some big damage here, the Sea Giant. Alright, off we go. So here's heroic mode. And there's me choosing the warrior and our special Thaddius deck here. So just like on normal mode, his hero power is to, for 0 mana, is to swap the health and the attack of minions each turn. So that adds a little bit of complexity to the fights as you're kind of in your head trying to do the calculations of future turns of how much damage and how much health his minions and your minions are going to have, and to what's going to be the best combination to bring them down. So there, as you saw, I kept the Nerubian egg and the cleave, Those are going to be really nice in order to be able to bring down Thaddius, but what I'm going to need is the execute. So I took a little bit of a risk here, not knowing whether or not I would actually get the execute, but I did. So there is a little bit of luck in this, depending on what you're willing to start with. So I had the egg and I had the cleave, and so the execute was important. So the first thing I did on my turn 2 there was I got out my egg, which when he swaps the health and the attack there, it kills the egg and immediately becomes a 4/4. So I got wailed on that first turn there for the full amount of damage. But now at the second turn, I'm going to be able to bring down both his Feugen and his Stalagg. One of the things that I also didn't know initially was whether or not it was going to generate a Thaddius for him, but thankfully it doesn't generate an 11/11 Thaddius because he is Thaddius. So while you get 11/11 Thaddiuses, he doesn't, which is a really nice perk. I was able to bring those guys down with the cleave, even took down the Shade of Naxxramas. And so he put out a spider and one of the guys that when you kill him, restores some health, which is really important. As you can see, I'm kind of low on health there. Already down to 19, so I threw on some armor and put out the Unstable Ghoul. And so unfortunately, the Unstable Ghoul wasn't able to do damage to his minions directly because he did the Lightning Storm on me. So at least I got 1 damage sort of thrown out to the rest of his minions, but not from the actual Unstable Ghoul. So here's one of those situations where I'm trying to calculate what's going to be the best thing to do for my mana. I decided to play cleanup and get some health first. I could have put out Feugen, but at this point I actually didn't know that Feugen would turn into an 11/11 Thaddius when he died.
The damned stand ready.
So this was a little bit rough for me. He's got out the cultist, and when the cultist dies, it's going to give health to one of those 2 other minions. I don't have what's necessary to really bring down those 2 other minions and the cultist. So, I've gone here using the elite, doing the charge, killing the cultist. That gives health to one of these other minions. Now, if I don't do anything about that, that minion's going to become a 4/1 next turn, and it hit me for 4, and I don't want that. So I actually go ahead and blow the plus attack there on my warrior to bring down the minion while it still only has 1 attack. Meanwhile, he's laying out his own army. He's got an egg that's going to be a 4/4 on me. I'm going to have to deal with that. So now I have drawn Feugen and Stalagg, and now I say, okay, well between these 2 I'll be able to get my Thaddius, right? I didn't know I was going to get both of them. Both Thaddius, I should say. Thaddi, I suppose, if we want to play around with the plural. Here's that lightning bolt again. He loves his lightning. And man, does it buff up some of those minions that get perks from overload. So here's me, now getting an 11/11 Thaddius off just the Feugen, and I'm just stunned for several seconds here, like, what? I get a Thaddius out of that? Because of his Stalagg and Feugen that died? Well, that's gonna work out really well. I'll get another one out of this Stalagg too. I had a choice here. Go for the armor or go for the whirlwind, and I decided to go for the whirlwind, again because doing the math, what that'll mean is that on next turn when he swaps all the health and the attack, I'll be taking 1 less attack for each one of those minions that's left alive at the end of this turn.
You die now.
Here I'm trying to decide whether or not it would be better to hit Thaddius directly or try and clean up some of the minions, and if I clean up some of the minions, which one should I go for? So I went for the 1/3 just for a damage mitigation kind of ratio. It was going to be a 3/1 next turn, and so I decided to go ahead and kill that. only taking 1 damage while I could to take out what would otherwise be a 3 attack next turn. So there goes the other, and pops out my Thaddius. Was very happy about that. And then I drew the Shield Master, and then I was like, it's time to attack him directly. Forget the other little minions he's got running around. My Shield Master's gonna handle that, my armor's gonna handle that. I need to start attacking him directly. While I've got tons of health on these Thaddii. Yeah, supercharge, watch out for that. +2 health on all those minions this turn, which means on his next turn, they'll have an extra 2 attack each. Brawl, thankfully, didn't need it here. Armoring up, throwing out that other taunt. Got my fingers crossed because all goes well. Next turn, he's gonna go down. He's got a lot of high attack, heavy hitting minions. And it's just a constant onslaught. So here it is, final killing blow. 2 Thaddii. I would definitely recommend you putting Feugen and Stalagg into your deck against Thaddius on Heroic mode. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So I'll bring up the deck list again. And just to remind you, you want early game, heavy hitting mitigation cards that are going to be able to bring down Feugen and Stalagg. So you're going to want your Executes, your Whirlwinds, your Fiery War Axes, your Cleaves, Heroic Strike, your Nerubian Eggs, all those things that in combination together are going to be able to let you bring them down as fast as possible. Then you're going to want some taunt minions, like Unstable Ghouls. You're going to want some early charges like the Wolf Rider to then try and help bring down those extra minions that he may have been casting while you were trying to take down Stalagg and Feugen. Help you clean up there, and then hopefully you'll be able to move on into sort of the next phase of the fight, bring out your own Feugen and Stalagg. When those get turned into Thaddius, you're in the last stages of the fight, and just wail on him as hard as you can. If you guys like the video, feel free to hit like and subscribe.